All right, welcome back. Let's take you now to Mosaiek Church. That's in Randburg in Johannesburg. That's ahead of the 2025 National Senior Certificate Matric Results announcement that's taking place this evening. SABC News reporter Lopang Alamu joins us live again from that venue. Lopang, very good afternoon to you. So we've been listening, of course, to the Director General at the Department of Basic Education, in the main giving that in-depth report, technical report, just around the class of 2025. He's spoken, of course, about a significant amount of challenges that this class face, but also some improvement when you talk about, the various regions, saying that, of course, that there are a number of other issues like the leaked papers that was a blow to the system, but in a main, seeming very pleased with some of the results. Just speak to us and give us some highlights of what else he had to say.
Unati, that's correct. That matric, one of those papers, in fact, three of them. That was the English paper, the mathematics paper, as well as Afrikaans, if we're not mistaken. But those leaks really proved to be quite a challenge for the department, as well as those 40 learners and those who were involved in the leak of those specific papers. But that really seems to be one of the biggest challenges, as well as we spoke about this, your infrastructure, your resources, the lack of, therefore. Also seeing an improvement in some of the subjects, one of the hardest subjects as well. We've seen quite a number of these subjects that had started where some learners were really struggling, but with time over the years, those subjects having been subjects that learners were interested in, and now this also helps them for technical careers, as well as those careers that seem to be quite difficult for some people to get into, to study really. For example, in your university, if you want to be a doctor, you'd need to have certain and specific subjects like your mathematics, as well as those who want to study within your finance field, like your accounting, for example. So those are some of the key takeaways from the technical briefing. But also, we've got some students here. Part of those students, you'd know that 40 of these students are the top achievers. Now, this is 40 learners from 766,000 students who wrote their examinations. That's quite a feat, and that's really quite impressive for some of these students. Let's talk to them, find out what their challenges were as pupils who wrote those examinations. In fact, we spoke to one learner who said that he really found it difficult to get here one day, which is today, where he's part of those 40 learners. Now, this learner failed a grade twice, and that's really a success story from his end. But we'll speak now to Angie and Thabo, and I'm hoping that they get to talk to us about some of those challenges and what really kept them going. Angie, thank you so much for your time. Please talk to us about some of the challenges that you faced as a pupil from 2014 when you started your schooling career.
Thank you so much for having me. One of my biggest challenges that I had faced in 2025 would be having to study without electricity, and that is load shedding. It was really not easy. You would plan out your schedule, plan out your day on when you're supposed to study, only to have electricity being taken from you. So having to deal with that, having to manage without electricity hasn't been necessarily easy.
And what's been the best thing for you? It's been 12 years of studying. Talk to us about some of the best things that you discovered, even about yourself.
One of the best things that happened to me this year, particularly this year, would be being the overall top achiever at the Psyche camp during the June holidays. It felt surreal, it was unexpected. I'm really happy about that.
Thank you so much, Angie. Also, what do you think your highest mark is?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I think it's going to be accounting. I don't know.
All right, Thabo, talk to us about some of the challenges that you faced.
First of all, I'd like to thank God because now I'm here today. The challenge that I face is the load shedding and balancing my subject. I remember very well when I was in grade 10 because I was not attending classes. Then now when I'm in grade 12, it became a very serious problem to me because I was not attending class when I was in grade 10. Now, I'd like to thank God now.
And I'm sure your parents must be very proud of you.
Yeah, they're very proud of me. They're very proud of me. Never sa nagano gore nka ba ka tla ka fihla mo okay. Jwale ba fo bona ke tlile.
And which subject do you think you did well in?
Technical science.
And also talk to us, what happens after here? Did you apply for a career, and what would you want to study after Matric?
Oh, yeah, I've applied for TT and I want to be an electrical engineer because I love problem solving. Yeah, and I want to end that thing of load shedding, A lot of learners, they are struggling with the lights, and I want to bring lights for, at the street, like for safety. Yeah, so.
Well done, and thank you so much, Thabo. Now let's rope in someone else. If you could just come closer to us. Talk to us about what your challenges have been this year.
This year, the challenges I've faced, the biggest one was access to resources and study materials. Especially because I'm a technical student, my stream is fairly new, so there is not a lot of resources or guides on the subjects. So you really have to take from physics, and you have to decide that, I do this, I don't do that. You have to consult with the teacher often. But I had a really good teacher, so he helped me through it all. I'm thankful to Mr. S.G. Stole in technical sciences and teacher Tabeta SP in technical maths. They are the people who got me here.
What subject do you think you really did well in, where you flourished?
Technical sciences, maybe.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to all of you. Now, Unati, we're going to bring in some guests here to also just really expand on those technical issues that we saw being spoken about a little bit earlier during the briefing, and some of the things that are areas of concerns, as well as maybe where the Department of Basic Education really did well and outdid themselves. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Makaneta. Please talk to us about, I'm sure you were listening in on the technical briefing, some of those challenges that we heard, and these are challenges that we've seen over the years, your lack of resources, your infrastructural problems, as well as those learners dropping in and out, as well as those learners who really who start with mathematics, for example, and end up taking mathematical literacy. What are some of those concerns that you think the department can really focus on in the next years?
Well, I think the department should really walk an extra mile to address the issue of mathematics and science. You will recall that the trends in international mathematics and science studies have consistently shown that South Africa continues to be at the bottom of the list of many other countries of the world in as far as the performance of maths and science is concerned. And for us, that is a cause for concern which must be addressed. But of course, the DG also spoke about the bigger number of learners who enrolled this year compared to others. And I think that has actually posed a difficult challenge to especially those schools which are under-resourced. And we honestly think that government, despite facing the austerity measures, must do something drastic to make sure that they improve the quality of education, especially in township schools, as well as in some of the rural schools.
And also some of the challenges faced by learners. We've just spoken to a few who said that they were experiencing some of the challenges which are really beyond the control of the Department of Basic Education. One might say challenges like your load shedding. Those are really basic necessities, but they continue to affect the students, particularly those from underprivileged communities.
You know, when you speak about load shedding, the president was addressing the issue on Saturday. I was listening to him at the ANC rally. And he said that actually it's not load shedding, but rather load reduction. And of course, this is caused by a lot of factors where people connect illegally in communities. I think that our councillors on the ground, together with our activists, should be able to engage communities on this matter. To be the vanguard of South Africa, it cannot really be correct that in this day and age we continue to face the same problems that we have faced previously. I think that we need to build a patriotic, a cadre of young people who will be able to defend the country in communities take it upon themselves to make sure that they protect the future of our generations to come.
I'm going to put you on the spot now. The class of 2024 broke the record. They had a feat of 87.4%. How do you think the class of 2025 is going to fare?
I must be honest, it is very difficult to tell, but you know, a lot of work has been put on the ground. I saw a lot of learners, grade 12 learners across the country as we were doing the rounds, attending classes even on Saturdays, some of them even on Sundays. And I think that the class of 2025 really does not want to be outdone by the class of 2024. But whether they will be able to increase that percentage remains to be seen when the minister announces the results.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hendrik Makaneta, there, just really giving us some of his opinions on what we've just heard from the technical briefing. Well, the time is getting closer and closer to that particular announcement, and I think also for those pupils, midnight seems really, really closer than what it really is at this moment. Now, this is where these pupils will start getting their results from that USSD code, from the website of the Department of Basic Education, as well as your newspapers. That's also quite a bone of contention, as we've seen recently. Now, this is where only the examination numbers as well as the name of the school will be in newspapers. And this is really, as we've seen over the years, quite a conversation that has been had. Now, this is where they won't be publishing the names as well as the surnames of the candidates who wrote those examinations. Well, Unati, you've heard quite a number of challenges faced by these pupils, including and most importantly, your load shedding or load reduction, if you may. But it's still to be seen if the class of 2025 will be getting an average or a percentage that's higher than the class of 2024. But also, even with that, we do know that the class of 2025 had the most number of full-time candidates who sat and wrote those NSC examinations, sitting at about 766,000 pupils. And this is also really the first time since the dawn of democracy that we've seen so many learners who enrolled for these examinations. So I think we'll leave it there for now as we prepare to take that announcement live.
Very well. Thank you so much, Lopang. Of course, such interesting conversations you were having with the students. Thank you so much. Great job, SABC News reporter Lopang Alamu, live for us from Randburg ahead of the 2025 National Senior Certificate Matric Results announcement that will be happening any moment now. In fact, it is happening at 6 p.m. We'll take you live there. Just something interesting that was said also in that technical briefing is that the class of 2025 actually faced a number of challenges. If you recall, this is a class that started grade 8 in 2021. That was, of course, at the height of COVID-19. So it will be very interesting to see how they will be faring given the challenges that they were facing, leading, of course, at that time to a number of start-stop in schooling and also rotational classes, if you recall, some students coming in on certain days and so forth. So it will be very interesting to see how they fared. Of course, last year was a historic milestone for the class of 2024, that cohort achieving 87.4% pass rate, which was an increase of 4.4% when compared to the previous year. In 2023, it was the highest, in fact, matric pass rate since the dawn of democracy in South Africa. The class also had record-breaking bachelor's and diploma passes. All right, so let's see what else Lopang has for us in store. Lopang, I do believe you've got more people that you have been speaking to. I mean, we are talking as we are nearing to hear from the Minister of Basic Education how the class of 2025 has fared. You are also taking more interviews.
Well, Unati, that's correct. In fact, now we've got a representative from the National Youth Development Agency, better known as NYDA, to talk to us a little bit more about those insights as well as that technical briefing, Dr. Sunshine Miende, we understand. Dr. Sunshine Miende, thank you so much for your time. You were in the technical briefing. Talk to us about some of the challenges that, let's unpack some of the challenges that we heard. Over the years, we've seen quite a mirage of problems faced by learners, particularly from underprivileged communities.
Thank you very much for having us. I think for us as the NYDA, what is more important is not even numbers, it's the qualitative result output of what we're going to get today. Yes, the results, the pass rates is one of the issues that we're concerned about as the agency. And one of our issues is that the pass rate, does it speak to the qualitative, what happens to the young people after this particular phase that they're at? So those are some of our concerns, but we're quite excited that young girls are doing well, more than the boys are doing well, considering the challenges that young girls are faced with in different communities. Particularly, one is also happy that KwaZulu-Natal seems to be doing well, considering that majority of the schools in KwaZulu-Natal have infrastructure-related problems, and there are also service delivery issues that affect these young people when they're studying. When there's no water, young people are affected. When there's no electricity, and some of these young people, they've studied under severe conditions, but they've made it out. So we're quite happy to even see that Quintile 1 schools are doing well, more than the better the paying schools. So we are quite happy that the African girl child is doing well. So we're looking forward to seeing the results and hoping KwaZulu-Natal comes on top.
Well, speaking of KwaZulu-Natal, remember when they started grade 8, that's when those 2021 July unrests were happening in the province.
Yeah.
Now, and recently those floods, and that's exactly what you're speaking about. But talk to us about what the National Youth Development Agency is doing for learners. Let's say someone is really not doing entirely well or has not done entirely well in their matric year. What can they do? What is the agency offering in terms of skills development?
So the NYDA has different products and services for young people, but the first one is we're encouraging young people to go to TVET colleges because government is putting more resources towards that. So we are promoting that young people go to TVET colleges. If they are while they're at TVET colleges, if you remember over the weekend, the president spoke about the learning and earning. So as the NYDA, we're going to be partnering with the Department of Higher Education to create more earning opportunities. Young people must start businesses while they are studying so that by the time they finish TVET colleges or universities, they have viable businesses. So those are some of the things that we're doing. But also the NYDA has what we call Solomon Mahlangu Basari. So it's one of the things that young people can come to the agency for if they've done well or maybe they're being rejected in different areas. We're saying they must come to the agency for that. But over and above, this particular class has shown resilience, particularly the ones from KwaZulu-Natal. There were floods, there was unrest and all of those things. So they have showed that particular resilience, and it's a resilience that we urge all young people in South Africa to have. We're urging young people not to sit at home. If those that have not done well, they must go back to school, and they come to the agency for assistance if they want to start a business, if they want to do hair, they want to do makeup like you're good looking. We're able to assist them to get those particular skills so that they can start businesses. So those are some of the things that as the NYDA we're going to be offering those particular young people.
Dr. Miende, just quickly, some of those skills shortages, where do we see a gap? I know that autism is one of those. Talk to us about some of those that they can look to. Not everyone can be a doctor, not everyone can be a chartered accountant, not everyone can be an electrical engineer. So talk to us about those skills.
So we're urging young people to explore skills in plumbing, electricity. You know, the Department of Water and Sanitation, they're doing a lot of work when it comes to plumbing and municipalities. So the NYDA has entered into partnership with Human Settlement and Department of Water and Sanitation to take young people that have done plumbing and different skills into that particular sector or ecosystem, so that in communities, when you see that there's a water that is leaking, young people be trained to close those particular leaks. We don't think that a tender system must continue when there are young people that have been trained in those particular areas. So those are some of the things that we're exploring as an agency.
Thank you so much. Dr. Sunshine Miende here from the National Youth Development Agency, UNATI, really just bringing us into some of the work that the agency is doing, as well as some of those challenges that these pupils have faced. And you heard one learner, actually, UNATI, saying that he wants to become an electrical engineer to ensure that future generations or those who will be continuing with their studies don't really have the problems that they had, like load reduction, for example. And those are really some of the things that we've been hearing throughout. We also did hear, Dr. Miende, just really encouraging these pupils to look into what many might call unconventional career fields, like your work in artisanry, like your work in plumbing, for example, as we've just heard. So I think we'll leave it there for now as we prepare to go inside. You'd also notice that quite a number of people are still standing outside, and the weather is also looking to start being really funny at the moment. So, Nati, we leave it here for now as we track the start of that announcement.
Fantastic, Lopang. Let's leave you to then go inside so that we can have that story from you at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, Lopang Alamu, of course, just bringing us the very latest in as far as that results center is concerned, or the announcement rather, that will be taking place there at that particular church. And as you know, the conversations go in terms of what next after Matric, we know that not everyone who does have bachelor's acceptance will be accepted at those institutions. So it is quite important that those expectations are really maintained. When you consider that the class of 2025, in fact, saw more than 900,000 candidates. And earlier on, just hearing from the director there from the basic education saying that, you know, the education sector, yes, it is seeing steady growth in terms of the numbers of learners. They are increasing, however, stressing that the reality was that while learner numbers are growing, you know, this has not led to the proportional growth in teacher posts, nor the, in the numbers of schools that are being built, which is quite concerning. Another thing that Lopang mentioned there was, of course, the weather. Not looking so great, she said. In fact, there is, or there are a number of weather warnings for various provinces to be careful for the inclement weather, but also flooding, as we are seeing there in the breaking news story that there is flooding reported in Limpopo. But Lopang, I do believe before you go in, inside that venue, ahead of Minister Siviwe Gwarube's announcement, you have more guests with you.
Nati, that's correct. In fact, we do have a guest here, Mr. Musimaimani, to talk to us about what his insights are on that technical briefing that we've just heard. Thank you so much for your time. Quite an interesting briefing that we heard. Some of the challenges, we've been speaking about this throughout the afternoon. Lack of resources, infrastructural problems that we've seen pupils face. In fact, we spoke to some learners who said they had the difficulty of, some say load shedding, some say load reduction. What are your takeouts from that briefing?
Well, I think what's most important is to remind ourselves, what is the ultimate purpose of education? We've got to empower young people for a future in this country, and what is clear is that 2 out of 3 young people cannot find work. I will be, ultimately in Parliament, will continue to fight for the issue of funding, because when you look at funding, the inherent issues are the fact that many of our schools are underfunded. You find capacity increase in terms of the number of learners in a class that's higher. You also are discovering very quickly that in quintile 5 schools, which are your high fee paying schools, funding has been cut, and so the net effect of it is that those classes will become higher. The solution in South African education can never be that if you can afford it, you'll get a good education, and if you are poor, you'll get a poor education. We have to fix for that, otherwise we are replicating Bantu education. And therefore my fight today is that not only do we deal with the issue of 30%, but we fund young people. And we naturally need to take our skills to a global player so that we can compete with anyone. So this 30% issue to me tells us we have no ambition as a country.
Especially in those subjects that many may call difficult for some pupils, your math, your mathematics.
When you assess the percentage of pass in mathematics for science, for technology, for English, you discover that actually only a third of our learners are passing through that. The participation rate in those subjects is declining, so the population is smaller, but more than anything, it means that for the skills of the future, we will continue to fall behind.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Let me put you on the spot. Is the class of 2025 going to do a little bit better than the class of 2024? We saw them breaking the record last year.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure we'll see an improvement, but it's a meaningless number for me, sadly, because it means that you benchmark it. If we put the bar low, more people will pass. Next year, we might as well make it 25 and more people will pass. It's meaningless. We should really think hard about whether the grade 1s who are starting on Wednesday, have they got good schooling or not? That's the question.
You're taking the bar higher, but the situation remains the same.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you see, it's like qualifying for the Olympics. If they say, I want to run 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. I train better, I sleep better, I eat better, I do all of those things. It's true in education. If we want to see the standards, if we want to see an improvement in the system, improve the outcomes. But if you think lowering the outcomes will see an improvement, you'll never see it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I think you may go in. As you see, there's quite a bit of people there at the entrance. Now, all these people are trying to get and make their way into the venue for that announcement. It might be slightly delayed, as we've seen that a lot of people are yet to be settled, Unati. And also, just to add on to the conversation we were just having, that issue of the 30% pass rate, I think we also really need to have that discussion. Not every subject that these peoples are writing should be passed at 30%, therefore meaning that they've passed a matric. That's not really how it works, but we'll be speaking to experts to further expand on what the 30% pass rate really means for those who really do not understand it at this stage. But it's really been a bone of contention over the past few years, and also the quality of education. That's really been a topic that a number of experts have been having. But let's see what happens when the minister takes the podium for that announcement, Unati. It's back to you in studio.
Thanks so much, Lopang. And in fact, during his technical briefing, the Director General of the Basic Education touched on that, that 30% contentious issue. In fact, even making jokes around how it is viewed. But Lopang is correct. It needs more, intense debate and discussion. He did, the Director General Mweli, addressing the National Senior Certificate pass requirements, saying that no qualification permits a pass with only 30% across the board.